Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and I'm going to tell you today the top fasting supplements you should be using to get more fat loss, better enjoyment out of an intermittent fast, and also things to make prolonged fasting much easier. So, if you like intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting, no matter what scheme you do or hourly makeup of fasting, this video will tell you plenty of gold nuggets on certain supplements to use during fasting in the prolonged form or intermittent form. Okay, so number one, this is the most on-the-nose foundational supplement that I'm going to throw at you here. So you might know about it, but electrolytes. Okay, so this is the easy one. I'm going to get into the wild cards in a bit, but electrolytes, okay? So predominantly sodium, potassium. If you watch any prolonged fasters on YouTube, like Cole Robinson, aka Snake Diet, he was the guy who basically popularized a lot of this for fasting purposes. A lot of the keto people do the electrolyte beverages as well, like Keto Raid and stuff like that. I have other videos on these things, but snake juice, as Cole Robinson calls it, or sodium potassium drink, is one of the best fasting supplements you could use. Of course, for prolonged fasting, it becomes more important. But even in the intermittent fast, this is something that you could use to great benefit. So what are the benefits? Well, it's going to make you less hungry for reasons I'll explain in a moment. It's going to help you feel better well-being, better cognizance, and overall, everything should just be running smoother on the inside of your body because your body needs sodium for a lot of functions, sodium, potassium, and the electrolytes. A lot of times people will do this with just salt, and this is a problem. Anytime you supplement with just one electrolyte, you're going to deplete your stores of other electrolytes. So if you supplement with too much sodium, you're going to deplete potassium. Too much potassium, you're going to deplete magnesium, I believe it is. So basically, sodium potassium is one of the best combinations for a simple electrolyte beverage you can sip on. One of the best ways to do it for prolonged fasting, so longer than a day, is half teaspoon of each in 2 liters of water and sip it. Don't pound it back or else you'll have a salt flush effect and shit yourself. But for intermittent fasting, I normally put 1/4 teaspoon of each and just sip it in between if I'm really aggressively pursuing fat loss. So what this does as far as appetite, okay? A lot of times, for a lot of people, your body will jack up its insulin because you're low in salt. It does this to retain water. So basically, when you are low in sugar and low in salt, you're not retaining much water and you're not being as hydrated, right? Because those are your body's two main methods of retaining water. So when you're low in both, your body's going to jack up its insulin, which will make you hungrier, but it does this in an attempt to stay hydrated. So basically, if you're not getting one of the other, or of salt or sugar, you're going to experience a slight raising of insulin. So basically the solution is to just have more salt. So sodium, salt, water, electrolytes, okay? Sip on this. It's going to keep your appetite at bay, and you'll probably be shocked at how effective it is. Even for intermittent fasts of the shorter range, like 12 to 16 hours, what's going to happen is you'll notice better appetite suppression and more mental smoothness, right? It will probably translate to better performance as well in the gym or other athletic activities you do because you need water to perform. As I'm sure you've read all over, our muscles are mostly water. Our body is mostly water. So retaining water and being hydrated isn't simply drinking more water. It's getting enough electrolytes to hang on to it and to use it appropriately. So it will keep your appetite at bay, make you feel better. Everything will run smoother inside and outside in how that manifests itself internally, externally, okay? So get your salt water. Now, and I gave you some good dosing there too. So that's the one that's most on the nose, but it will have a very tangible effect on your appetite because your body has this kind of reciprocal relationship with sugar and salt. Okay, there's a great book on this too by Dr. James DiNicolantonio. It's called The Salt Fix. Fantastic book. And, you could read that as well because he's a great authority on this stuff, but also you could watch more of my videos because I read a lot of these books and throw them at people. So the next supplement on my list here is going to be L-carnitine. Well, in this case, acetyl L-carnitine. So you might have heard of carnitine before, and there's multiple forms of it. I got L-carnitine tartrate here and acetyl L-carnitine. What are the differences? Well, basically, L-carnitine in general is well, it's not technically an amino acid. People will tell you it's an amino acid, but it's an ammonium compound that breaks off of an amino acid, which basically shuttles fats into your cells for fuel. So basically your mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, burns fat with the aid of L-carnitine. So depending on which form of L-carnitine you get will determine how your body uses it exactly. Acetyl L-carnitine allows your body to use fats and have them travel through the blood-brain barrier a lot more effectively. So basically, a lot of people use this as a nootropic supplement, a brain supplement. So that's personally why I use it, but anytime you're supplementing with L-carnitine, you're going to get added fat-burning benefit. It's simply that acetyl L-carnitine, ALCAR as they call it, is a form which is much more usable for your brain. L-carnitine tartrate is probably a little bit more geared towards fat loss just because it's quicker for your body to actually use the tartrate form, I believe. But essentially, I've noticed very little difference between the two in terms of fat burning, but a significant mental boost with ALCAR. And over the years and time of using this during my intense fat loss periods of the year, I've gravitated towards acetyl L-carnitine just because I figure, hey, I'll get similar fat burning results just with a little bit of a mental boost. So I personally love this stuff, and you have to keep in mind, anytime you're consuming something, right, besides salt, like anything that your stomach has to digest, you're running a risk of kicking your body out of the fasted state, okay? So I probably should have led with this, but, you know, I'm saying it in the area where it counts now. So the general rule of thumb is anything under 40 calories will keep you in the intermittent fasted state. Now, the longer you fast and the more you hit prolonged fasted state, little calorie intake will be more detrimental for your fast. Example, people doing fasting for autophagy, so cellular cleansing after 24-hour period, your body will be a lot more sensitive to even smaller amounts of food. So if you're somebody who is the majority of this audience, who is aggressively pursuing fat loss and you want extra tips, I don't think it's going to be a big deal if you use, you know, something like a capsule of acetyl L-carnitine during a fast, because it's not going to kick your body out of that fasted state, at least not in a dramatic form. Now, having small bits of food, you're running the risk a little more, but as far as these supplements in this video, all the ones I'm showing you seem to be totally fine for maintaining an intermittent fast. But keep in mind, anytime you start having little bits of anything that your stomach has to digest, it's going to produce enzymes, and if you're prolonged fasting, this is going to be more of a problem for autophagy related goals, even though the fat burning will still be at a very high state. Okay, so acetyl L-carnitine is my preferred. L-carnitine tartrate absorbs a little faster and your body can use it quicker, so a lot of people use it for fat burning as well. Essentially, if you have this in your body before you do any cardio or any other activity, or even if you're just walking around a lot of the office and, you know, for whatever you do, your body will get more of its energy from fat because it has L-carnitine to be the ferry and escort it into the cells. That's what they call it. So, don't know where I kept that one. Basically, those are the first two supplements. So L-carnitine, absolutely. And it's also something that your body has a hard time getting unless you get it from certain foods. The next one, this is where I'm kind of crossing the territory of might be affecting your intermittent fast and will definitely affect prolonged fast. So MCT oil, okay? The one I prefer is Bulletproof brand. Now, it's very highly distilled, and this is the solely caprylic acid MCT. So of the medium chain triglycerides, this is the one which is basically the most efficient to use. It's the one that turns into ketones almost immediately for your brain to use, and it doesn't have as much potential for gastric upset like lauric acid or even capric acid, so the other two MCTs. So this is the least upsetting on your stomach, the easiest on your stomach to take, and that's why I prefer it, as well as the fact that I notice it more. It is a luxury, you don't need this. However, if you want to get more mental function and a boost of ketones, if you're doing a lot of ketogenic fasting, this is useful to use. However, keep in mind, like I said, this is an oil, so it is highly caloric. What you will be doing if you consume this on an intermittent fast or a prolonged fast is called fat fasting. So basically, your body isn't necessarily kicked out of the fasted state because it doesn't have to digest protein or carb. It's only slowly digesting fat. So you're still in a very deep fat burning state, much deeper than in the fed period when your insulin's much higher. But for the strict sense of the word fast, or anybody doing prolonged fasting down the line, this will heavily dampen a prolonged fast, especially the autophagy benefits. So as far as fat burning, you can consume this for a supplemental boost, But keep in mind, it will add into your calorie total in the day, and it can dampen the autophagic, so cellular cleansing benefits of a prolonged fast. Now, the other one, this is ketone salts. Got my initials on this one for other ones that I was giving away. Ketone salts, okay? Technically, ketone esters. Okay, hold on, let me just backtrack here. Exogenous ketones is a category of ketone supplements. Under that category, you have ketone salts and ketone esters. I don't have an ester on hand to give you a visual because they're dramatically expensive and they're in liquid form. Ketone salts are ketones, which are highly acidic, attached to salt to lower their pH so that you can then consume them. Now, technically, the beta-hydroxybutyrate, the ketone body in here, which your body has to digest, can dampen a fast. At least a prolonged fast, I would say it can dampen. However, fat burning wise, you're still going to get plenty of fat burning benefits. But if you're doing a prolonged fast for a long amount of time, the only way I recommend using this is before you start the fast to dampen your appetite, stabilize your blood sugar, make you a little bit more insulin sensitive. As far as intermittent fasting, you know, you're not going to risk losing any autophagy benefits because that's probably not a concern for you in an intermittent fast. Autophagy benefits come after the prolonged, time requirement of 24 hours. So will this break a fast? Probably if you're after the 24-hour mark, it will dampen it, at least more than, something which is not caloric, okay? So this will dampen a fast, and keep in mind, anytime the strict the strict meaning of the word fast is don't consume anything. So we're on a thin tightrope here. I believe I've used this plenty of times during prolonged fast, multiple day fasts, single day fasts, intermittent fasts, and although the autophagy benefits aren't going to be as strong, if you use this, it will absolutely be huge at amplifying the effects of fat burning and how you feel during a fast, okay? Remember I was talking about electrolytes before. These contain electrolytes, a full electrolyte profile in here from a great brand, by the way, which I love, Athletic Alliance. Everything's clean, sweeteners, Canadian brand, all that stuff. I'm a big fan of them. I'm not paid to say this. I really enjoy their products. That's all. So they have a full electrolyte complex in here. So you're getting the benefits of electrolytes, which I already mentioned in this beginning of the video. But at the same time, you're also getting beta-hydroxybutyrate and probably a little bit of MCT powder, so which I already explained here too. Now, a lot of times these ketone salt products will have a little bit of MCT powder as well to amplify the ketone production. But basically, if you're somebody who is prolonged fasting, it could be useful for fat burning purely. If you're somebody who's intermittent fasting, this is a gold mine for you, whether you like ketogenic dieting or not. Let me repeat that. Even if you don't like keto dieting, if you eat 1,000 carbs a day, you can use this to great benefit on an intermittent fast. Essentially, if you take this in the morning, even though it gets digested, it's going to do very minimal to kick your body out of the fasted state. Keep in mind, the thing that is the most detrimental for a fasted state is a blood sugar spike or a blood insulin spike, or having to digest protein. This is beta-hydroxybutyrate, a ketone body, and salt. And maybe a little bit of fat, which digests very slowly. So, which we already know isn't going to be too big of a deal for fasting because of fat fasting. Watch my video on that as well. So this stuff is going to be hugely powerful for keeping your appetite at bay and helping you feel better mental function. And as far as performance in the gym and whatnot, or any other athletics, you are getting a dual-pronged fuel now. You might have a bit of glucose from the day before, or from keto adaptation, and then you're also getting ketones. So this is a hugely powerful tool, and I have a video on it called The Best Appetite Suppressant in the World, or something like that, which you can watch. But this stuff is great. However, if you did want to use a ketone ester, the liquid form of this, that will not break a fast. You can use that for prolonged fasting, I'm pretty sure, and it won't have any, effect on the efficiency of autophagy. So basically, ketone salts are the thing that you're going to find in most stores. You have to pay good money online to get ketone esters, and you have to be careful with them because they can dramatically influence your blood sugar. So be very careful with esters. However, they can be used on a prolonged fast. Now, the last supplement I would say is apple cider vinegar. So I don't have a bottle of that here, but I think most people know what it is. Apple cider vinegar. Now, a lot of people take this for probiotic benefit, which I've done in the past. A lot of people take it for metabolism, but one thing that I actually use apple cider vinegar for during a fast is for when I break the fast. When I break the fast, if you have apple cider vinegar, there's been plenty of studies that the blood sugar response of a meal after a fast has been much more efficient after consuming apple cider vinegar. So basically, it's not going to jack up any more than it has to. If you're somebody who's aggressively pursuing fat loss, this is another little micro level tool to throw in so that on a meal by meal basis, you're not jacking up your blood sugar and blood insulin more than it has to. You're getting the efficient amount of response from your body, and that will result in better fat burning, less risk of fat gaining. So overall, apple cider vinegar is also great for diminishing a blood sugar response after the fast. And it also can have some probiotic benefit with beneficial bacteria from the mother in the apple cider vinegar itself. Now, some people will tell you that the bacteria can break a fast. And it might. There's decent arguments out there that it might dampen a fast because it does have to get broken down technically. I don't think it's really a problem unless you're somebody who's pursuing autophagy. If you're somebody who's just trying to get the most fat loss out of the equation, even if your body has to break down a little bit, I don't think it's going to be a dramatic signal to your body to, get out of the fasted state. Like I said, 40 calories is kind of around the general rule of thumb everybody uses, but it's best to just not go by that and to just try to have things that aren't really food. So, probably a couple calories from this, if your body can even use it, around 4 calories per basically beta hydroxybutyrate in here. So at the end of the day, it's not going to be a big deal for any of these supplements. Now, I'm going to tell you what is going to be a big deal. Number one, a lot of people will say BCAAs, right? I'm sure I have some here somewhere. Okay, I got plenty of them. I mean, why not? Ugh. BCAAs, okay? First of all, try to get one that's naturally sweetened. Try to get anything naturally sweetened, solely stevia. If you want to learn more about that, watch my video on fitness sweeteners because there's a lot of problems with a lot of them. And it's like a 30-minute video. It tells you about everything that's in every single fitness product that you might want to avoid and prioritize getting instead. BCAAs. Now, a lot of people will have BCAAs during a fast because they're afraid they're going to lose muscle. This is not important necessarily. If you're in a fasted state, your body is trying to avoid burning muscle. And if you're in a more ketogenic deepness of that fasted state, so if you're in a higher depth of the pool of ketosis while you're in a fasted state, you will have an even lower risk of burning your own muscle. So if you're in a very low calorie state every day, yeah, BCAAs will be beneficial to maintaining muscle, but you don't have to take them during the fast. In fact, the amino acid leucine, which is the BCAA that does most of the work, tends to signal to your body, because it's so anabolic, that you're eating food, because it's realistically an amino acid that you wouldn't have been getting in nature unless you were eating a large amount of like muscle meat or something. So our body is used to having such an anabolic amino acid in the presence of other food, and this is why it can indicate to your body that you're not in the fasted state. It also is highly insulinogenic, so it's very quick digesting, quick absorbing. This is from having a higher insulin response, which can also kick you out of the fasted state. So I wouldn't recommend it in general during a fast. However, I've had it plenty of times to break my fast, or if I'm, not so concerned with fat loss and I just fasted in the day for some reason, then I hit the gym. Sure, maybe I'll have some BCAAs in a pre-workout or in any scenario where I'm not aggressively pursuing fat loss, okay? Like I said, you don't have to worry about losing muscle during the fast. And if you're doing keto, you have an even lower risk of that. So last thing I'll say is whey protein to break the fast, okay? Here's another one I just have on hand. But again, try to get naturally sweetened. But the thing is, anytime somebody breaks a fast with whey protein, I don't necessarily recommend it if you're aggressively pursuing fat loss. There's no health consequence of doing that. You can do whatever you like. I'm just saying, if you are on a tight timeline, you want to burn as much fat as possible, avoid breaking the fast with whey protein or BCAAs. Well, avoid breaking it with whey protein and don't have BCAAs during the fast itself. Why do you want to do this? Well, whey protein has a very high insulin response. In fact, it has such a volatile and then prolonged insulin response that it can signal to your body that it's in a building state most of the day. So why is this a problem? Well, insulin has to be low, or at least lowered, in total quantity in order for you to burn fat. So example, if you are eating 3,000 calories and then you go to 2,000, your total amount of insulin is probably going to be lowered from the 3,000 calories of food to the 2,000. Now, if you're eating foods that are having a higher insulin response in and of themselves, this is where you can also manage weight loss. So this is basically one of the whole premises of the ketogenic diet, is that you're cutting out the category of food, carbohydrates, which have the highest insulin response. So if you're picking the one form of protein that has the highest insulin response out there, and then starting the day off with it, you're going to be diminishing the amount of fat you burn until that insulin response gets out of your system in probably 7 hours or so, right? Because it jacks up high at first, and then it will still stay and fizzle out. So I don't recommend breaking a fast of this, because you're basically making your insulin go from dead zero to right up to the sky. You can mix in fat sources to dampen and slow down the insulin response. However, that is a better way to go about it. But I am just saying this because I know some people who like, I intermittent fast, then I break it with a protein shake. The only scenario where I do that or advise that is if you had fasted during the workout and then you slam the insulin, because that's where you want the insulin. You don't want the insulin when you're just chilling out and it's breakfast, okay? You want the insulin when it's going to be the most anabolic for muscle tissue, which is after a workout or in any scenario where, you're not trying to aggressively burn fat. So if it's after a workout that was fasted, beautiful, go for it. You can dampen the insulin spike with fat, right? Whether you're on a carb metabolism or not, this applies to you, all of this. So keep this for after a fasted workout. Don't necessarily start off, it's noon, time for breakfast, with just pounding back a Whey shake. Save that for later when you're trying to recover and your body wants to use those amino acids very quickly. So, and also you can use the BCAAs at that same time whenever you are having a meal. That's a better way to go about the fasting routine. So this was the video, a complete guide to supplements on intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting, but most of these apply to intermittent fasting. Thank you again for watching. Leave me a comment of what you want me to make a video on next down below. Once again, Anthony Romano, and go to my website, romanoketo.com, for coaching. Gonna have programs drop there very soon, all the good stuff. So thank you very much again. Peace.